Imagine waking up one morning, the world feeling exactly the same except for one thing. You suddenly realize that the very ground you walk on, the air you breathe, the space around you, all of it is somehow less real. Not in the way your senses betray you or the way an illusion tricks your eyes. No, it's deeper than that. It's as though the tangible world you've known for so long, your relationships, your career, your daily routines, is just a thin veneer over something much greater, something ancient and hidden. You stand at the edge of this realization, staring into the vast unknown, questioning everything you thought you knew about existence. There is a nagging, persistent thought echoing in your mind: what if there's more to reality than what I can see and touch? It's not an easy thing to confront, this sense that your everyday reality might be nothing more than an elaborate construct, a distraction from something far more profound. But even as this thought drifts through your consciousness, another one follows quickly behind it. What if the answers I've been searching for, the meaning that has eluded me all my life, has been waiting just beyond my grasp, within that hidden realm I've never understood? You've been told that the spiritual realm is some abstract, nebulous concept. That it's a realm of lofty ideals or wishful thinking, something you encounter only in moments of desperation or extreme meditation. You've heard the vague stories, the mystical experiences, but they always seemed distant, irrelevant. Perhaps you've never even considered the possibility that the spiritual realm isn't something out there, but is actually woven into the very fabric of your life, waiting for you to unlock its essence. Yet, here you are, feeling the weight of it press against your chest, a force beyond your comprehension, a mystery you can't shake off. You begin to question. Is this realm just a fantasy, a construct of the mind, or is it something real, something that permeates everything, from the flicker of light in a candle flame to the darkest corners of your own soul? The deeper you look, the more unsettling the questions become. Why does no one talk about this? The spiritual realm is dismissed as superstition or dismissed entirely. People are told to focus on the physical world, to seek wealth, success, and status, but even with all these things in place, there's a lingering sense of dissatisfaction, a hollow feeling that perhaps, in chasing those material goals, they've overlooked something infinitely more important. What if the truths you've been searching for all your life aren't about accumulating more things or achieving more accolades, but about understanding the invisible world, the forces that shape our experiences from behind the curtain? You might think back to moments in your life when you've had a glimpse of something beyond the surface, perhaps a fleeting sense of déjà vu, a dream that felt more real than reality itself, or the feeling of awe and connection in nature, when time seems to stop and everything falls into place. These moments, though brief, seem to hint at a world beyond what we can explain. But then, like clouds on a windy day, they vanish, leaving behind a sense of longing, a desire for something you can't name. And yet, every time you reach for it, it slips through your fingers. Why is that? Why, despite all the years of seeking, does the spiritual realm seem so elusive, so impossible to grasp? Is it possible that there is a hidden truth, the truth about the spiritual realm, that has been kept from you, intentionally buried beneath layers of belief systems, distractions, and societal conditioning? What if, just what if, the key to unlocking this realm is not in searching, but in something far simpler, far deeper? What if everything you've been taught to believe about yourself and the world has led you further from this truth? As you grapple with these questions, one thing becomes clear: there's more to the spiritual realm than you've ever dared to imagine. It's not about looking outward, but about learning how to see differently, to break down the walls that have kept you from it. This is no longer just idle curiosity. You stand at the threshold of something greater than you can comprehend. Something is calling to you, demanding that you listen, that you wake up, and that you step beyond the veil. And now, the greatest question remains: how do you unlock this realm? How do you break free from the mental prisons that have kept it hidden for so long? The journey into the spiritual realm begins with this question, and with the willingness to explore the hidden forces within your mind and soul that shape your perception of reality. But to understand how to access this realm, you must first understand why it's been so elusive. Next, we must explore the hidden problem, the force that has kept you from seeing the spiritual realm clearly, an invisible barrier that has shaped your thoughts, your behavior, and your life in ways you cannot yet understand. The truth is, the reason the spiritual realm feels so elusive isn't because it's hidden away in some distant dimension or inaccessible to you. It's because the very nature of your mind, the way you perceive and understand the world, is built to keep it at bay. And most of the time, you don't even realize it. There's a hidden force at play, a mechanism built into the core of your psyche that prevents you from seeing beyond the physical and the material, preventing you from accessing that which exists just beneath the surface of everyday reality. This force has been carefully woven into the fabric of your existence, a product of both nature and nurture, culture and biology, psychology and philosophy. It is the way you have been conditioned to think about reality, the lens through which you've come to interpret your life. And it is so ingrained, so deeply embedded, that you barely question it. At the heart of this force is a psychological truth that is uncomfortable to face. You are trapped in a narrative that was never truly yours. Your entire life, you have been handed a script, taught to follow a set of rules that ultimately limit your perception and understanding of the world. From an early age, you are taught to prioritize the tangible, the things you can see, touch, measure, and control. You're told that reality consists of what is concrete and material. You're pushed to see yourself as an isolated individual, living in a world defined by boundaries and distinctions, subject versus object, self versus other. This separation, this compartmentalization of existence, becomes your worldview. You are taught to see yourself as an autonomous, rational being, a product of your own thoughts and decisions. But this view is, in many ways, an illusion. It is the result of an ancient cognitive bias, the egoic mind. That complex network of thoughts, beliefs, and identifications that convinces you that you are separate, isolated, and distinct from the universe. This ego-based perception is not something you consciously choose, it's ingrained from the moment you begin to understand yourself as an individual. Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche and Jean-Paul Sartre have warned us about the dangers of this very thing, the way the ego constructs a false sense of self that distances you from the world around you. Nietzsche famously spoke of the will to power, the drive within individuals to impose their own meaning upon the world, creating a rigid sense of self-importance. In this process, we become detached from the underlying flow of existence, trapped within the prison of our own desires and fears. Carl Jung, too, spoke of the persona, the social mask we wear to fit into the world, to perform the roles society expects of us. Beneath the persona lies the self, the deeper, more integrated aspect of your being, one that is connected to the greater web of existence, to the spiritual realm. But the more you cling to the ego, the more you distance yourself from that connection. The more you follow the dictates of societal expectations, the more you suppress the deeper parts of yourself that resonate with the invisible forces of the universe. At its core, this egoic structure creates an illusion of control. The desire for certainty and mastery over the external world shapes your perception, pushing the mysteries of life into the realm of the unknowable and dismissing the spiritual realm as something irrational or fantastical. This belief is so deeply ingrained that when you do glimpse something transcendent, whether it's a powerful dream, an intense moment of connection, or a brush with the numinous, you quickly dismiss it. You rationalize it away. It's just a coincidence, a product of my imagination, a trick of the mind. And yet, these very moments contain the key to unlocking something far greater. This illusion of control is pervasive. Viktor Frankl, in his book Man's Search for Meaning, explored the devastating consequences of a life lived without connection to something greater than oneself. Frankl, who survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps, came to understand that the greatest source of human suffering is not physical pain or deprivation, but the existential void, the feeling of disconnection from the deeper meaning of life. This void arises when we are so focused on controlling our external circumstances, on surviving in a world that constantly demands more, that we lose touch with the spiritual dimension of our existence. The spiritual realm is not something we can control, it is something we must surrender to, a flow of existence that requires us to let go of the ego and embrace the unknown. Yet, this is not an easy task. Our entire culture, from the earliest moments of our lives, teaches us to fear the unknown, to seek only what is rational and logical, to reject anything that cannot be seen or measured. From the rise of science during the Enlightenment to the current obsession with technological advancement, the material world has been elevated above all else. In this context, the spiritual realm becomes an afterthought, an artifact of a bygone era. But this is where the problem lies. This deep-seated belief in the supremacy of the material world, this attachment to the ego and the tangible, has created a barrier, a psychological wall that keeps you from experiencing the spiritual realm in its fullness. It is not a matter of whether the spiritual realm exists, it does. The real question is, how do you break free from this mental prison, from the false narratives you've been taught to live by? The answer lies in confronting the very foundation of your perception of reality. In order to unlock the spiritual realm, you must first dismantle the illusions that have been built around you, illusions about the nature of the self, about the world, and about what is possible. You must begin to question the assumptions that underlie your existence. This brings us to the paradox at the heart of the problem. The more you try to control your understanding of the spiritual realm, the further you push it away. The more you cling to your ego, the more it blocks the path to something deeper. To access the truth of the spiritual realm, you must first relinquish the very thing that has been controlling your perception all along, the egoic mind. But how? How do you step beyond the walls that have confined you your entire life? The answer, as we'll soon see, requires an entirely new way of thinking, a profound shift in perspective that goes against everything you've been taught to believe. But this shift is not impossible. In fact, it has been accomplished by many throughout history, and it is available to anyone brave enough to seek it. The path forward is difficult, but it begins with the simple acknowledgement of this hidden problem. Only once you see the walls surrounding you can you begin to find the cracks in them, the pathways that lead you beyond. And in the next section, we'll begin to explore how these invisible barriers shape not just your perception of the spiritual realm, but your very reality itself. You've seen glimpses of something greater, something more profound than the world around you. Yet those moments were fleeting, and before long, they faded into the mundane. In your search for meaning, you've sought answers from countless books, teachers, and philosophies, but the more you try to grasp it, the more elusive it becomes. You feel as though you're being toyed with by something just out of reach, like standing at the edge of an ocean, the waves crashing at your feet, but every time you try to dive deeper, the current pulls you back to the surface. What you don't realize yet is that this is not merely an inconvenience or an abstract mystery. This is the invisible hand at work, shaping not just your perception of the spiritual realm, but the very fabric of your existence. The consequences of this unseen force are far-reaching, seeping into every corner of your life, subtly but powerfully influencing your actions, your choices, and your relationships. These consequences aren't limited to mere frustration or confusion. They shape your reality in profound ways. You don't need to look far to see their effect. It's in the way you view success, in the way you relate to others, in the way you measure your worth. The invisible walls of the egoic mind, reinforced by society, culture, and your upbringing, have created a lens through which you perceive everything. And this lens distorts the truth of your existence. At the heart of this distortion lies a tragic irony. The more you focus on control, on individual achievement, and on the material world, the more disconnected you become from the spiritual truths that would bring you real peace and meaning. Take a moment to reflect. How many of your decisions are driven by a need for validation, by the quest for material success, or by the desire to conform to society's expectations? How often do you find yourself making choices based on fear or insecurity? Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not measuring up to some external standard. This mindset is not your fault. It is, in many ways, a consequence of how the world has been structured. But the true tragedy lies in the fact that, in chasing these external validations, you're sacrificing the very thing that could give you lasting fulfillment, the direct connection to the spiritual realm, to the unseen forces that guide you. One of the clearest ways this manifests is in how you experience relationships. In your interactions with others, how often do you find yourself comparing, competing, or measuring up to them? Relationships, in the traditional sense, are meant to be about connection, about sharing love, understanding, and vulnerability. But when you're trapped in the egoic mind, relationships become transactional. They become a means to an end, to validate your worth, to secure your position in the social hierarchy, or to mask your own insecurities. Rather than being windows into the spiritual realm, they become mirrors of your own fears, desires, and illusions. This is not to say that relationships themselves are inherently flawed. But when seen through the lens of the ego, they are reduced to a shallow pursuit, driven by a need for external validation. You begin to view people as objects, roles to play, or ways to boost your self-esteem. And in doing so, You miss the opportunity to see the divine in others, to recognize the sacred connection that transcends the superficial. The consequences extend far beyond relationships. Consider your own sense of purpose. How many times have you found yourself caught in the cycle of achievement, always striving for the next big goal, the next level of success? This is the essence of modern life, a relentless pursuit of more. More money, more status, more accolades. But this never-ending chase leaves you feeling hollow, unfulfilled. You reach the summit of one achievement, only to find that the view doesn't bring the peace you expected. There's always something more to conquer, something more to acquire, but it never seems to fill the void. This is the direct result of the invisible barrier that has been erected in your mind, the belief that your worth is tied to external accomplishments, that your sense of self is defined by what you have, what you do, and what others think of you. The more you chase after these things, the more you lose sight of the deeper purpose of life, the connection to the spiritual realm, to something far greater than yourself. Perhaps the most insidious consequence of all is the way this invisible force shapes your view of death. It's a subject most people avoid, pushing it to the back of their minds because it's too uncomfortable to confront. But deep down, you know that death is the ultimate unknown, the final frontier, the one thing that cannot be controlled or avoided. And yet, in a world where everything is defined by material success and individual achievement, death is often seen as the great failure, the end of everything. This fear of death, this existential dread, is born from the belief that your identity is tied to the ego, to the body, and to the material world. The more you attach yourself to these external markers of success, the more you fear their loss. But what if your true essence is not bound to the body, to the ego, or to anything material? What if the spiritual realm is a place of eternal connection, a realm where the essence of who you are can never die, only transform? The fear of death, then, is not just a fear of physical cessation, but a fear of the loss of identity. It is the result of the ego's death grip on your perception of self. It's the reason why many people live in constant fear of losing their place in the world, of being forgotten or unimportant. But what if the truth is that you are already part of something far larger, something eternal and unshakable? What if the moment you let go of the ego's need for control, the fear of death itself vanishes? This is the real tragedy of being trapped in the egoic mind, the way it distorts your perception of life, death, and everything in between. You live in a world of illusion, believing that everything you see and experience is the entirety of reality. The spiritual realm, however, exists beyond this veil, waiting to be discovered. But as long as you remain in the grip of these unseen consequences, you will continue to miss it. These consequences are not just psychological. They are cultural, societal, and neurological. They are woven into the very fabric of your existence, reinforced by the culture in which you live. And until you begin to recognize the power these unseen forces have over you, they will continue to shape your life in ways you cannot yet understand. But understanding this is the first step toward breaking free. In the next section, we will explore how to challenge these deep-seated beliefs, to begin dismantling the walls that have kept you trapped, and to reclaim the path to the spiritual realm. The time has come to rebel against the structures that have held you back, to step into a new way of being, and to unlock the truth that has always been waiting for you. There's a moment when all the effort, all the striving, all the searching, suddenly fades away, when everything you thought you understood about the world, about yourself, falls silent. In that moment, you realize something profound, something so simple yet so radical, it shakes you to your very core. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe. And this realization changes everything. This is the final, most powerful truth, that the spiritual realm is not some distant or abstract place, but the very fabric of reality itself. It is not an otherworldly dimension waiting to be accessed. It is the essence of life, the beating heart of existence, and you have been immersed in it all along. You've never been apart from it. You've simply been too wrapped up in the illusion of the ego, in the narrow, limited perception of reality that convinces you of your separateness. The shift is not in finding something new, but in realizing what has always been here, right in front of you, hidden in plain sight. It's like a veil lifting, a fog dissipating, and suddenly, everything that seemed so complex and separate becomes whole and interconnected. The boundaries between you and the world dissolve. What was once a mystery is now known. It sounds too simple, doesn't it? Too radical to be true. But the simplicity of it is precisely what makes it so powerful. The ego, the part of you that believes in separation, in individual achievement, in the need for control, has kept you blind to this reality. It is the filter through which you have been interpreting the world. And as long as the ego controls your perception, you will never truly understand the spiritual realm. But when you begin to let go, when you surrender the need to control, you start to see the truth. And it's not a truth outside of you. It is the truth of who you are. The paradox, then, is this: you cannot find the spiritual realm by searching for it. You cannot grasp it with the ego's narrow, controlling mindset. It can only be accessed through surrender, through a complete release of the need for control and certainty. When you stop searching for something out there, you begin to realize it has been within you all along. This is the great liberation, the realization that you have been the source of the spiritual truth you've been seeking. Look at it this way. Throughout history, mystics and sages have told stories of encountering the divine, of experiencing a connection to the sacred. But these experiences weren't about finding something outside themselves. They were about seeing through the illusions that had kept them blind to the truth. When Jesus spoke of the kingdom of God, when Buddha taught about enlightenment, when Rumi wrote about union with the divine, what they were all pointing to was the same fundamental realization, that the divine is not something distant or separate from you. It is within you, all around you, waiting for you to see it. And this is where it gets both thrilling and terrifying. The spiritual realm is not something you access. It is something you remember. You have always been connected to it. The fear, the doubt, the separation, it's all part of the illusion created by the ego. But as you let go of that illusion, you begin to remember the truth. The universe is not something you are in. You are the universe, experiencing itself through the lens of your unique consciousness. This realization has a profound impact on every aspect of your life. It redefines your relationships. No longer are they transactional or driven by the need to seek validation. Instead, they become expressions of the interconnectedness you now see and feel. The walls that once separated you from others, the judgments, the comparisons, the insecurities, begin to fade. In their place comes a deep sense of unity, a shared experience of being that transcends all surface-level differences. You stop seeing others as obstacles to your success or as threats to your identity. Instead, you begin to see them as reflections of the same divine energy that flows through you. The competition fades away, replaced by a sense of collaboration, understanding, and mutual respect. And this shift ripples outward, transforming not only your personal relationships but also your place in the world at large. This shift also redefines your sense of purpose. No longer are you bound by the goals and aspirations the ego once set for you. Your life becomes an expression of the truth that has been awakened within you. You realize that your purpose isn't to achieve something external, it is to express the divine essence that you are. Whether you're writing, teaching, loving, or simply being, you are living in alignment with a higher truth. And in this alignment, you find peace, contentment, and fulfillment that surpasses anything the ego could ever offer. But perhaps the most profound impact is on your understanding of death. For when you realize that you are part of the universe, not separate from it, you understand that life and death are not opposing forces, they are one and the same. The death of the body is simply the transformation of energy, the continuation of a cycle that never truly ends. The fear of death dissolves when you realize that you are not the body, nor the ego, but the awareness behind it. And awareness, like the universe itself, is eternal. This is the ultimate truth, that there is no separation. The ego, the fear, the striving, the sense of isolation, all of it is a construct, a temporary veil that hides the deeper reality. And when that veil is lifted, you realize that everything you've been searching for is already here. The spiritual realm is not a place. It is a state of being. It is the realization of your true nature, and in this realization, you come to understand that you are, always have been, and always will be one with the infinite. Now, you might be wondering, how do I maintain this awareness? How do I stay connected to this truth amidst the distractions of everyday life? The answer is simple. It is a practice of constant remembrance. It is about choosing to see beyond the surface, to listen beyond the noise, and to feel the unity that exists beneath all things. It is a practice of surrender, of letting go of the ego's need to control, and allowing yourself to be guided by the deeper truth that flows through you. And as you live from this place of deeper knowing, you will find that the world around you shifts. What once felt like a chaotic, disconnected place becomes a seamless tapestry of interwoven experiences. You will begin to see the divine in everything, the light in others, the beauty in nature, the sacredness of every moment. And in this new vision, you will find the peace and fulfillment that have always been available to you, waiting just beyond the veil. This is the ultimate truth. The spiritual realm is not separate. It is you. It is all of us. And the moment you realize this, the moment you let go of everything that has kept you trapped in illusion, is the moment you become free.